Achieving glycemic control or reducing hyperglycemia significantly decreases the microvascular and macrovascular complications of diabetes. HbA1c is the most widely used clinical test to estimate mean blood glucose used in diagnosis and monitoring glycemic control in patients diagnosed with diabetes. HbA1c is effective in monitoring efficacy of treatment with the aim of preventing long-term macro and microvascular complications. It can only be reviewed infrequently and can mask the risk of hypoglycemia or extreme glucose fluctuations. Current recommendation is not to repeat HbA1c until after 3 months. Although it's cheap, routine RBS is used in diabetes clinics' low-resource settings to gauge efficacy of treatment, yet it's inaccurate and therefore not helpful in decision-making on therapeutics. RBS is mostly used in insulin-dependent diabetes to aid in dose selection. HbA1c, on the other hand, is better than both fasting or postprandial glucose in predicting glycemic control and is therefore recommended as a cornerstone for prevention of hyperglycemic complications. The Chronic Care Clinic in AIC Kijabe Hospital provides services to patients with diabetes and does routine RBS for all its patients during triage. Routine RBS is done in approximately 100% of patients, but only 26% don't have up-to-date HbA1c. Patients with diabetes may also have other comorbidity, and routine RBS, which is inaccurate, only adds to the cost of care. The aim of this quality improvement project was to abolish routine RBS in favor of HbA1c as a better indicator of glycemic control in diabetes clinic. It was a 6-month project done with collaboration of staff in the diabetes clinic from different cadres. Team members would be headed by a team lead and a coach to mentor the teams. This project was nested in a collaborative quality improvement carried out in other facilities simultaneously. But how did they do it? Let's hear from the team.
In this QI, we worked as a team of clinic officers, nurses, and also medical officers. Basically, each of the team members was assigned a key role, which they did. My role in this QI was to ensure that the daily activity register has been recorded by the clinician and the nurses seeing the patients.
I think my role majorly was to just come up with the inclusion criteria for patients attending diabetic clinic. So the inclusion criteria was for the patients that should have the routine RBS checked during their routine visits.
For Kijabe Hospital, with the 8-member team, we were able to identify eradication or rather abolishing of RBS in favor of HbA1c. But what really were the concerns from the patients?
Concerning them changing from a routine RBS and then converting to a HbA1c, which most of them felt that it was an important test as they were used to. So it was a routine test because most of them would come from so many clinics, and they expected an RBS to be taken from them because they felt that was the only test that would help them to determine how their sugars was. Then the other challenge was about the cost. Some felt that HbA1c was a bit high, a cost that they couldn't be able to afford. But again, later, after several sessions of health education during the patient clinics and support groups, then they were convinced.
So we did a survey among our clinicians, and we found out that some preferred random blood sugar due to the turnaround time. So some thought that A1C takes a lot of time to be out. Then we found out that we had knowledge gap among ourselves, so we had to do some sensitization in the facility. We also found out that some thought that A1C is not accurate.
He or she can do all the tests, HbA1c test, creatinine, a fundoscopy, and if he was to be reviewed by the surgical team, there at least we've also saved on time and the cost. And by combining these all clinics, it has reduced the cost of the patient and time for coming to the clinic. So we give them a TCA of 3 months.
We realized there was a miss in our tracking of HbA1c among our diabetes patients. So we came up with a template that has some details of the patient from when they were diagnosed diabetes, whether they have comorbids. And we look at the last A1C done and when we expect the next A1C to be done. Also when they last had a renal check and how was their GFR and when they were due for the next one. And also when they had the last eye check and when they are due for the next one. So after we did this, during our analysis, we realized there was a lot of improvement in our patient care and also the tracking.
Manual registers, which we do the compilation each and every day. Then after the capturing of the data, we transfer them in our soft copy so that we can do the analyzation through the use of the graphics and the use of the pie charts. The experience towards our QI, it was so encouraging and so motivating.
And that one we really solved it by having the team meet virtually, and by meeting virtually also created another challenge, which was now having the data, because not everyone has a Wi-Fi at home. And that one now we had to come again up and we come up with a solution, which we had to make sure that now we meet physical or trying to meet within the hospital time, because the hospital has Wi-Fi, which will be available for everyone. The other one was also motivation. The team needed motivation to keep on going because they were overwhelmed, doing work all the day, and then we have to meet again. And that one we had to improvise. So we had breakfast or even some snacks whenever we would meet physically. And this really helped because the team would feel like they appreciated and they kept on going. The other one was on our labs. We knew our labs, some of them are not credible. So that one we made sure that we gave them feedback on time and they were okay with it and they worked with us together in our DCS, which really helped us improve on where we knew we had seen a problem. The other one was patients. We noted some questions that we asked patients were not giving us the right answers. Sometimes they felt like they was too harsh. And this one we solved by making sure that we educate them and we made sure that they know what we are doing and why we are doing it. And this really helped.
Week after week, we would use this template called the A3, in which we would fill all the targets that are required for the following week, as well as all the achievements that have been made. In the end, at the 6-month period, we were able to achieve our target of getting over 90% of HbA1c done by all the patients and also abolishing the routine RBS for all patients, and that reduced from 90% up to less than 20% in the 6-month period of the project.
This is Dr. Kaya Belknap, Head of Outpatient Services at Kijabe Hospital. I was the mentor for this QI project in our diabetes clinic, which aimed to replace RBS with A1C as our main marker of diabetic control. This QI project was management initiated to eliminate the use of routine RBS and encourage the use of routine A1C in our diabetic clinic. The team really took the idea and ran with it. They identified the background information and analyzed data from the clinic to determine the baseline information. They brainstormed as a team to come up with root causes and key drivers of the problem. They also surveyed staff and patients to determine perceptions and prevalence of the issue. They came up with interventions to test change and followed them through, which led to meaningful change in the clinic. Most importantly, they learned about the QI process and felt empowered to enact change at their place of work. We are all proud of their hard work and look forward to more QI projects in the department.